The human shielded her child. The alien queen claimed him. The palace of the Zelari Empire floated above a blue star, silent and ancient. Its walls were made of crystal alloy that reflected light like frozen tears. Inside the highest chamber sat Queen Thyra, ruler of 1,000 systems, conqueror of species, and mother to a daughter the galaxy believed dead. Every cycle at the same hour, the queen dismissed her guards and advisors. She stood alone before a memory pillar, a smooth black stone older than her reign. With a slow, careful movement, she placed her hand upon it. The stone glowed softly, and a single sound filled the chamber, a voice. It was faint, distorted by age and damaged recording, but the queen knew it better than her own breath. "Mother, I am not afraid." The queen closed her eyes. Her claws trembled. Decades had passed since the day her daughter, Princess Lyrian, vanished beyond the Empire's borders. Official records called it an accident. Unofficial whispers spoke of rebellion, of fear among the High Council, of a future they tried to erase. The queen had ordered searches, sent fleets, and burned worlds in her grief. Nothing had brought her child back. The voice ended. The stone went dark. Silence returned. Far away, in a region of space marked only by broken charts and warning beacons, a small human exploration ship drifted between dead stars. The vessel was old, patched together from different eras of human engineering, but it moved with stubborn reliability. Its name was the Horizon's Wake. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, arms crossed, eyes focused on a flickering display. Humans had spread far by now, but this area was avoided even by them. Sensors failed here, signals bent and twisted, most considered it cursed space. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, her voice tense, "we're picking up something strange." Ward stepped closer. "Strange how?" "It's not a standard distress call. It's not coded like any species we know. It's broken, like someone is talking, not transmitting." Ward listened. At first, he heard only static. Then, beneath the noise, something else emerged, a rhythm. A voice struggling through interference. "Still here, please." The bridge fell quiet. "How old is it?" Ward asked. Chen adjusted the scan. "Hard to say, could be decades, maybe longer." "Any sign of traps, automated defenses?" Ward asked. "No," replied the ship's AI calmly. "Structure detected ahead, orbiting a dead star, power levels extremely low." Protocol said to mark the location and leave. Unknown structures, ancient signals, unclaimed space. These things usually ended badly. Ward knew the rules. He also knew why humans broke them. "Bring us in," he said. The structure was massive and ugly, built without care for beauty. Its metal was dark and scarred, covered in frozen debris. Long-range scans showed internal compartments, most of them collapsed or powered down. Only one section still showed life support. They docked manually. No automated systems responded. The airlock groaned open, releasing a breath of ancient, stale air. Ward led the team inside. Their boots echoed through empty corridors. Lights flickered as the Horizon's Wake fed power into the station. Symbols covered the walls, alien, sharp, and elegant. None of the humans recognized them. "Who builds something like this and forgets it?" Chen whispered. "No one forgets something like this," Ward replied. "They abandon it." They found the chamber at the station's core. Inside stood a single stasis pod, cracked and failing. Frost covered its surface. Warning symbols pulsed weakly, and inside lay an alien female. She was tall and slender, her skin pale silver blue, her features delicate and regal even in unconsciousness. Strange markings glowed faintly along her arms and face. Her eyes were closed, but her expression was calm, as if she were dreaming. The pod emitted a weak sound. "Mother," Chen's breath caught. "She's alive." "Barely," the AI said. "Stasis failure imminent. If not removed, subject will expire within hours." Ward did not hesitate. "Get her out, now!" It took everything they had to free her. The pod resisted, ancient locks refusing to open, tools overheated, power fluctuated, but humans were patient when it mattered. They forced the pod open manually, one seal at a time. When the stasis field collapsed, the alien gasped sharply. Her body convulsed as cold air filled her lungs. Ward caught her before she fell. "It's okay," he said softly, though he knew she could not understand him yet. "You're safe." They carried her back to the ship. In the medical bay, the alien was placed inside a healing cradle. Nanotech adjusted itself to her biology, guided by the AI's rapid analysis. It took hours. The crew waited, silent and exhausted. Finally, her eyes opened. They were a deep violet, sharp and alert despite her weakness. She tried to move, then froze when she saw unfamiliar faces surrounding her. She spoke in a trembling voice, her language strange and musical. Her words were fast, fearful. "It's okay," Ward said gently. "You're not a prisoner, you're on a human ship." She did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her breathing slowed slightly. The AI projected a translation interface, adapting quickly. After several attempts, her words came through, broken but clear. "You are not them," she said. "No," Ward replied, "we're not." Tears formed in her eyes. "Then I am truly lost." Over the next days, they learned her story piece by piece. Her name was Lyrian. She was the daughter of an empress, heir to a vast empire. When she was young, factions within her people feared what she would become. She believed in unity, in mercy, in opening borders. They believed strength came from control, so they betrayed her. She was declared dead in an accident and taken to the edge of space. The prison was built to hold her forever, hidden where no one would look. The stasis system was meant to last until time itself forgot her. "I kept speaking," she said quietly. "I believed if I spoke enough, someone would hear." Ward felt something tighten in his chest. "You sent the signal?" Chen asked. Lyrian nodded. "I did not know how. I only remembered my mother's voice and tried to follow it." When the Horizon's wake began its return journey, the galaxy noticed. Imperial sensors detected the human ship entering restricted space. Automated warnings were issued. Fleets were alerted. The Zelari Empire did not tolerate intrusions, especially by young species like humanity. In the palace, Queen Thyra paused mid-step as an alert reached her private chamber. It was not military in nature. It was not political. It was a sound. A faint, distorted transmission had passed through ancient imperial receivers. The system flagged it as impossible. The queen ignored the warnings and played it anyway. "Mother!" The queen collapsed to her knees. Her hands pressed against the floor as the voice echoed again, clearer this time, carried by human systems that did not know how to give up. For the first time in decades, hope burned brighter than grief. And far from the palace, aboard a small human ship moving steadily toward danger, Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead. They had not planned to challenge an empire. They had only planned to save a life. They did not yet know those two things were the same. The Horizon's wake moved through open space at steady speed, its engines humming softly. Inside the ship, the mood had changed. It was no longer just an exploration vessel returning from the edge of nowhere. It was carrying something fragile, dangerous, and powerful all at once. Princess Lyrian lay in the medical bay, awake now, though still weak. The healing cradle glowed around her body, adjusting gently as her strength slowly returned. Her eyes followed every movement in the room. She had learned that these humans meant no harm, but years of isolation had carved fear deep into her instincts. Captain Elias Ward stood nearby, watching the star map projected in the air. Red warning lines marked the borders of the Zelari Empire. Once crossed, there would be no turning back. Dr. Annika Rao checked Lyrian's readings and spoke calmly. "Your vital signs are stabilizing. You survived far longer than anyone should have in that prison." Lyrian's fingers curled slightly. "It was built to last," she said softly. "Built so no one would ever find me." Ward turned toward her. "Someone did." She met his eyes. "You should not have." Ward did not argue. "Maybe, but we did anyway." For a moment, Lyrian studied his face. Humans looked strange to her, soft features, no natural armor, no visible weapons. By all logic of her people, they should have been weak. Yet they were the ones who had crossed dead space for a voice they did not understand. "You know who I am now," Lyrian said. "If you take me back, the Empire will not welcome you. You may be destroyed." Ward folded his arms. "If we leave you out here, you die. If we abandon you somewhere else, you're hunted. There isn't really a good choice." "There is for you," she replied. "You could pretend you never found me." Ward shook his head. "Humans are bad at pretending when someone needs help." Lyrian closed her eyes, emotion flickering across her face. For the first time in decades, someone had chosen her without fear or gain. As the ship continued forward, the Empire reacted. Long-range sensors detected the human vessel's trajectory. It was not avoiding patrol zones. It was moving directly toward the inner systems. To the Zelari military, this was either madness or a provocation. Fleet Commander Sailreth studied the data with cold focus. Humans were young, clever perhaps, but unimportant. Their ships were not built for war against an empire that had ruled the stars for millennia. "Send a warning," Sailreth ordered, forceful but restrained. A transmission was sent. Horizon's wake, you are approaching sovereign Zelari space. Alter course immediately. Failure to comply will result in interception. On the human bridge, the message played aloud. No weapons were powered. No shields were raised. Lieutenant Chen looked at Ward. Orders? Ward took a slow breath. Send a response. Chen nodded. Channel open. This is Captain Elias Ward of the Horizon's Wake, Ward said. We are escorting a rescued civilian to her home. We do not intend harm. There was a pause. Then the reply came, sharper this time. No civilians are registered in this sector. Your cargo is unauthorized. Stand down. Lyrian listened from the medical bay, her heart heavy. They do not know I live, she said quietly. Officially, I am a ghost. Ward glanced back at her through the open doorway. Then it's time someone told them. The ship did not alter course. Within hours, Zelari patrol vessels appeared on sensors. Sleek, powerful shapes surrounded the human ship at a distance. Weapon systems locked on, though none fired. On the lead patrol ship, Commander Sailrath watched the human vessel in disbelief. It was small, outnumbered, and still moving forward. They are either incredibly brave, he said, or incredibly foolish. Back on the Horizon's wake, tension filled the bridge. The crew knew what was coming. They were not soldiers. They were explorers, engineers, scientists. Ward stood straight. Open all channels, he said. Broadcast wide. Chen hesitated. Captain, that will expose everything. Ward nodded. Exactly. The broadcast went out on open frequency, carried across patrol ships and relay stations. This ship carries Princess Lyrian of the Zelari Empire, Ward said clearly. She was found alive in an abandoned prison orbiting a dead star. She was imprisoned without trial, without mercy. Shock rippled through the patrol fleet. Confusion followed. Several ships began rapid data checks. Old records were pulled, classified files stirred. Sailrath's eyes narrowed. Impossible, he said. The princess died decades ago. As if in answer, Lyrian stepped onto the bridge, supported by Dr. Rao. She was weak, but she stood tall. Her presence filled the room in a way no human ever could. Chen activated visual transmission. Lyrian faced the camera. Her voice trembled but did not break. I am Lyrian, she said. Daughter of Queen Ethyra, I live. Silence spread across the fleet. On the imperial capital world, alarms sounded, not of attack, but of contradiction. Ancient systems flagged the transmission as authentic. Genetic markers matched sealed royal records. In the palace, Queen Ethyra stood frozen before the projection. The face before her was thinner, older, scarred by time, but unmistakable. My child, the queen whispered. Advisors shouted. Guards moved. Political leaders panicked. Some demanded the signal be cut. Others demanded the humans be destroyed before the truth spread further. But the queen raised one trembling hand. Do not silence her, she said. Back at the border, Sailrath received new orders. His mandibles tightened as he read them. Stand down, he said slowly. All weapons disengage. The patrol ships shifted formation, opening a path. On the Horizon's wake, the crew exhaled in disbelief. Ward looked at Lyrian. Looks like you're still important. She shook her head. Not important enough to save myself. As the ship moved deeper into Imperial space, resistance did not end. Political forces moved quietly. Messages were intercepted. Fleets were repositioned without orders. The truth was dangerous. Lyrian sensed it. There are those who will not let this end peacefully, she warned. They tried to erase me once. They will try again, Ward nodded. Then we'll stay alert. That night's cycle, Lyrian stood alone in a quiet observation room. Stars drifted slowly past the glass. For years, she had spoken to emptiness. Now, space listened back. Ward joined her. You okay? She considered the question. I am afraid, she said honestly, but I am no longer alone. Ward smiled faintly. That's usually how humans do our best work. The Horizon's wake continued toward the heart of an empire holding its breath. Truth was moving through space now, carried by a small ship that refused to turn back. And far ahead, a queen waited, torn between joy and rage, knowing that when her daughter returned, the galaxy would never be the same again. The Horizon's wake moved deeper into Zelari space, escorted now by Imperial patrol ships that kept a careful distance. Their formation was polite, almost respectful, but tension filled every kilometer between them. Nothing had been resolved. Weapons were quiet, but minds were not. Inside the human ship, the crew felt the weight of attention. Every system check, every movement was watched by sensors far more advanced than their own. Lieutenant Chen kept her eyes on the console, fingers steady despite the pressure. They're scanning us constantly, she said. Not aggressively, but thoroughly. Captain Elia's ward nodded. Let them look, we're not hiding. Princess Lyrian sat strapped into a seat near the bridge, her posture straight despite her weakness. She wore simple human clothing altered to fit her frame. There were no royal symbols, no signs of power. Only her presence marked her importance. They fear what I represent, she said quietly. Not me. Change. Ward glanced at her. Change scares most governments. She gave a small, sad smile. Mine more than most. As they approached the next relay point, a new signal arrived. This one was not military. It carried the seal of the High Council. Captain Ward, said a smooth voice, carefully calm. This is Counselor Vestalan. You are ordered to divert course and transfer the individual in your custody to Council authority. Ward folded his arms. With respect, Counselor, she's not cargo, and she decides where she goes. There was a pause. Humans are guests in this space. Do not misunderstand your position. Lyrian leaned forward. Counselor, she said, her voice steady, you already misunderstand everything. The transmission cut abruptly. Chen looked up. That didn't sound good. No, Ward agreed. It sounded like panic. The truth was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Across the Empire, old records resurfaced. Whispers moved through academic circles, military ranks, even civilian networks. The official story of the princess's death no longer held. Some saw hope. Others saw threat. In a dark chamber deep within the capital, several council members met in secret. Their forms were tall and armored, faces hidden behind ceremonial masks. She should never have been found, one said sharply. She was erased, said another. History accepted it. A mistake, a third replied. Mistakes resurface. They turned to a large display showing the horizon's wake moving steadily inward. And the humans? One asked. Unpredictable, came the answer. They gain nothing from this. That makes them dangerous. Orders were issued quietly through channels that avoided the Queen's authority. Fleets were repositioned under the guise of training exercises. Systems near the capital adjusted their defenses. They would not allow the past to return. Back aboard the Horizon's wake, Lyrian felt a chill she could not explain. She closed her eyes, listening to the hum of the ship. They are preparing something, she said. I remember this feeling, the silence before betrayal. Ward trusted her instinct. Chen, reroute all sensor feeds to tactical awareness. Dr. Rao, keep Lyrian close. The ship's AI spoke calmly. Multiple fleet movements detected ahead, patterns inconsistent with standard escort protocol. Chen frowned. They're boxing us in. A warning flashed across the bridge. Unauthorized fleet elements approaching, the AI continued. Weapons systems powering, Ward straightened. Open all channels, now. Before the order could be carried out, a massive battleship dropped out of faster-than-light space directly ahead. Its hull dwarfed the horizon's wake, casting a shadow across the stars. A transmission followed, cold and final. Human vessel, you will halt immediately. Power down engines and surrender the prisoner. Chen's hands tightened. That's not escort, that's an arrest. Lyrian stood despite Dr. Rao's protest. They will not listen to you, she said. They believe they are protecting the Empire. Ward met her eyes. Then we'll protect you. The horizon's wake did not slow. Gasps echoed across the bridge as the small ship continued forward, its path taking it straight toward the battleship's firing arc. Captain, Chen said urgently, they can destroy us in seconds. Ward nodded once. I know, he opened the broadcast himself. This is Captain Elia's ward, he said calmly. We will not surrender an innocent person. If you fire, the galaxy will know exactly why. The battleship's weapons charged, glowing lines of energy building along its hull. Time seemed to stretch. Then a new voice cut through every channel. Stand down! The voice carried authority that could not be questioned. All ships froze. On the capital world, Queenie Thyra stood in the command chamber, her eyes burning. She had bypassed her council, overridden protocols older than empires. I gave no order for this interception, she said. Explain yourselves. Silence answered her. On the battleship, the commander hesitated, orders conflicted, loyalty warred with fear. Disengage, the Queen repeated. Now. One by one, weapons powered down. The battleship pulled aside. The horizon's wake passed through the gap, untouched. On the bridge, the human crew released breaths they hadn't realized they were holding. Lyrian closed her eyes, tears slipping free. She heard me, she whispered. She believes. But the danger was not over. As the ship approached the capital system, unrest spread, protests formed. Some demanded the princess's return, others demanded her silence. The truth had split the empire down invisible lines. Ward watched the data streams. Your people are divided. They always were, Lyrian replied. They simply hid it better. A formal request arrived from the palace, not a command, an invitation. The Horizon's wake was granted direct approach. As they descended toward the capital, thousands of ships filled the space around the planet. News drones hovered. Civilian transports paused their routes just to watch. The human ship, small and scarred, moved at the center of it all. In the palace, Queenie Thyra waited alone in a vast hall. Guards stood far back, instructed not to interfere. When the doors opened and Lyrian entered, supported by humans, the queen's composure shattered. She crossed the distance in seconds and pulled her daughter into her arms. "My child," she said, her voice breaking, "I searched the stars for you." "I know," Lyrian whispered. "I felt it." The reunion was quiet, but its impact shook the empire. Humans stood respectfully aside, witnesses rather than participants. Ward felt something deep in his chest as he watched a bond stronger than politics reclaim its place. But outside the palace, forces moved. The conspirators knew time had run out. As the queen and daughter embraced, alarms began to sound across the capital. Chen's voice came through Ward's communicator. "Captain, unauthorized fleet movements near the planet. This isn't a protest, it's a coup." Ward's jaw tightened. "We're coming." The humans did not retreat. They did not ask permission. They moved toward danger once more, because somewhere along the way, this had stopped being about escorting a princess. It was about standing between truth and those who feared it. And humanity was very good at that. Alarms echoed through the capital, rolling across towers and floating platforms like a storm warning. Red light washed over the palace walls as defensive systems came online without full authorization. The city below reacted in confusion. Civilian traffic halted, news feeds filled with fragments and rumors. Inside the palace, Queenie Thyra finally released her daughter and turned toward the wide windows. Her posture changed. The grieving mother was gone. The ruler returned. "They have chosen their moment poorly," she said. Lyrian steadied herself beside her. "They believe you will hesitate," she replied. "They believe love makes you weak." The queen's eyes hardened. "They have forgotten who built this empire." Captain Elias Ward and his crew arrived at the palace command center minutes later. Guards watched them closely but did not stop them. Orders from the queen overruled all objections. Lieutenant Chen moved quickly to a tactical console. "Multiple unauthorized fleet elements have broken formation," she reported. "They're attempting to seize orbital control. If they succeed, they can isolate the palace." Dr. Rao glanced at Lyrian. "This is exactly what they planned to avoid when they hid you." "Yes," Lyrian said softly. "My existence forces them into the open." The queen activated a wide display. Several council members appeared, some calm, some furious, others silent. "Explain this," Queenie Thyra commanded. One counselor stepped forward. "For the stability of the empire, extraordinary measures are required. The return of the princess threatens." "The empire is not yours to stabilize," the queen cut in. "It is mine," another counselor sneered. "Your judgment is compromised." Silence followed. Then the queen spoke, her voice cold and clear. "You mistake mercy for blindness. I know exactly who ordered her exile. I know who maintained the prison. I know who falsified the records." Several counselors shifted uneasily. "And now," she continued, "I know who is attempting to seize control." The transmission cut. Outside, the coup forces moved faster. Warships took positions above key cities. Communication relays were jammed. False emergency orders spread through the fleet. On the Horizon's wake, systems lit up with incoming threats. The small ship had been allowed to dock near the palace, but now it was targeted again. "They're trying to neutralize us first," Chen said. "We're symbolically dangerous." Ward nodded. "Because we don't belong to their system." "That," Lyrian said, "is why you matter." Ward turned to her. "We didn't come here to fight an empire." She met his gaze. "No, you came here to tell the truth. That is far more dangerous." The queen issued new orders. Loyal fleets began to respond, but confusion slowed everything. The conspirators had planned well, too well. A sudden impact rocked the palace. Defensive shields flared as a rogue strike hit the outer barrier. "They're escalating," Chen said sharply. Ward's jaw tightened. "We need to buy time." "For what?" Dr. Rao asked. For the truth to spread faster than their lies, Ward replied. He turned to the Queen. Your Majesty, with permission, we can help. Several advisors reacted instantly. Humans have no authority here. The Queen raised a hand. They have already proven their loyalty, Ward explained quickly. We can broadcast everything we have. The prison data, medical scans, Lyrian's testimony, all of it. Not through official channels they can block, but through civilian networks, trade routes, independent relays. Chen nodded. Human comm systems aren't integrated with theirs. They can't shut us down easily. The Queen considered for only a moment. Do it. The horizon's wake became a beacon. Across the Empire, screens lit up. Not with propaganda, not with threats, but with evidence. Images of the prison, logs showing council authorization, medical reports proving Lyrian's survival, her voice calm and clear, speaking not as royalty but as someone who had endured. I was not killed, Lyrian said. I was hidden. Because I believed the Empire could be more than fear. Civilians watched in stunned silence. Soldiers listened, conflicted. Some ships hesitated. Others powered down their weapons entirely. The conspirators panicked. Cut the signal, one shouted. They're not using our relays, another replied. It's human tech, it's everywhere. On the palace roof, Ward and Chen watched loyal and rogue ships maneuver in the sky. No massive battle erupted. Instead, there was hesitation, confusion, doubt. That doubt saved lives. A loyal fleet commander finally broke silence on open channel. This is Admiral Kethvar. I recognize the princess. I recognize the evidence. I will not fire on my own people for the sake of liars. Others followed. One by one, ships stood down. The coup fractured. But its leaders were not finished. Deep beneath the city, a final plan activated. A failsafe designed decades earlier, never meant to be used. Power readings spiked. Chen's eyes widened. They're overloading the Central Defense Corps. If it collapses, it will take half the capital with it. Ward felt cold spread through his chest. They'd rather burn everything than lose control. Lyrian stepped forward. That corps was designed to respond only to royal command codes. The Queen turned sharply. Those codes were sealed after your exile, Lyrian nodded, but some systems listen not to codes, but to blood. There was no time for debate. Escorted by humans and guards, Lyrian and the Queen moved toward the inner control chamber. Tremors shook the ground. Warning lights flashed faster. At the chamber doors, the Queen stopped. She placed her hands on Lyrian's shoulders. I lost you once, she said. I will not lose you again. Lyrian smiled faintly. You won't. Together they entered. Inside, ancient machinery hummed with unstable energy. Symbols glowed across the walls. The core pulsed like a beating heart. Lyrian stepped forward, placing her hand on the central interface. The system hesitated, then responded. Her markings glowed brighter, echoing through the chamber. Identity recognized, the system intoned. Energy levels began to drop. Outside, coup ships lost power. Some drifted helplessly. Others surrendered immediately. The threat collapsed in moments. Silence returned, broken only by distant sirens and the fading hum of the core. Lyrian swayed. Ward caught her before she fell. It's done, she whispered. The Queen knelt beside them, her composure finally breaking again, not in grief this time, but in relief. Hours later, the capital calmed. Arrests were made, evidence secured. The council was suspended pending judgment. In a quiet chamber overlooking the city, Queenie Thyra addressed Captain Ward. Your species has altered the course of my empire, she said. Not with force. With refusal, Ward shook his head. We just didn't walk away. That, the Queen replied, is far rarer than conquest. Lyrian stood beside him, steady now. They stood when it was easier to leave, remember that? The Queen nodded slowly. The galaxy will. As the horizon's wake prepared for departure, ships across the capital turned to face it, not in threat but in respect. Humanity left no troops behind. They left something far more lasting. Proof that even empires built on fear could be changed by those who refused to accept silence. And the galaxy was watching. The capital world woke slowly after the long night. Smoke drifted above damaged platforms, but the sky was clear. Emergency lights dimmed as power stabilized. The city still stood. The empire still breathed. In the highest chamber of the palace, Queenie Thyra stood before a wide gathering for the first time since the coup failed. Military leaders, council members, scholars, and observers filled the hall. Guards lined the walls, not as threats, but as reminders that the old ways had nearly destroyed everything. Princess Lyrian stood at her mother's side. She no longer wore human clothing. Instead, she wore simple royal attire without heavy symbols or ancient marks of dominance. It was a quiet statement. Power did not need to shout. The queen raised her hand and silence spread. For many cycles, Queenie Thyra said, this empire told itself a lie. We told ourselves it was for stability, for survival, for strength. Her gaze moved across the room. In truth, it was fear. Murmurs followed, but no one interrupted. My daughter was taken from me, the queen continued. Not by enemies, not by war, but by those who claimed they knew better than the throne, better than the people. She turned slightly, placing one hand over Lyrian's shoulder. They failed, and they were exposed not by our power, but by outsiders who refused to look away. Eyes shifted toward the humans standing quietly near the side of the hall. Captain Elias Ward stood with his crew. They wore no uniforms of rank, only simple exploration gear. They did not stand proudly. They did not bow. They simply stood witnesses again. The conspirators are in custody, the queen said. Their crimes will be judged openly. No records will be sealed, no truth buried. A pause followed. This empire will change. That sentence carried more weight than any threat. Across the galaxy, the speech spread. Civilian networks, trade hubs, neutral stations, all replayed the words. Analysts argued. Historians revised timelines. Other rulers watched closely. Not because of the queen, because of the humans. On the horizon's wake, preparations for departure began quietly. Repairs were underway, supplies loaded. The ship had never stayed so long in one place before. Lieutenant Chen leaned against a bulkhead, watching activity through the viewport. I don't think we'll ever top this mission, she said. Dr. Rouse smiled tiredly. Let's hope we don't have to. Ward stood alone near the airlock when Lyrian approached. She walked without guards, without ceremony. You're leaving, she said. Ward nodded. We always do, she hesitated. You could stay. The Empire would welcome you, reward you. Ward shook his head gently. That's not why we came. She studied him for a long moment. That is what frightens them most. She reached into her sleeve and removed a small crystal shard, glowing faintly. This is a royal access token. It grants passage through Zelari space. Not as guests, as equals. Ward accepted it carefully. Thank you, Lyrian's voice softened. If you had not answered that signal, I would have faded alone. You weren't alone, Ward said. You just hadn't been found yet, she smiled. It was a human expression now. In the command chamber, Queenie Thyra watched the human ship prepare to depart. An advisor stood beside her. Shall we assign escorts? The advisor asked. The queen shook her head. No, let them leave as they arrived. Unprotected, the queen's eyes remained on the small ship. They were never unprotected. As the horizon's wake pulled away from the capital, ships across the system adjusted their orientation. Not weapons, not targeting arrays. They turned to face the humans, a gesture of respect. The ship entered faster than light space, leaving behind an empire forever altered. But the story did not end there. Across the galaxy, other signals were heard. Old prisons, forgotten labor camps, abandoned research stations, places written off as lost, began sending messages. Some had always transmitted, weak and ignored. Now those signals were noticed, because humans listened. On a distant world, a miner paused as a strange broadcast interrupted his feed. It showed a human ship and an alien princess standing together. They crossed an empire for one life, the voice said. What would they do for you? Hope spread faster than fear ever had. Months later, at a neutral station far from Zelari space, Captain Ward met with representatives from several species. They did not speak of alliances or war, they spoke of trust. You did not conquer, one said. You did not demand tribute, Ward shrugged. We just showed up. That, another replied, changes everything. Humanity's reputation shifted. They were no longer seen as reckless newcomers or clever traitors. They became something far more unsettling to the old powers. They were the species that would not accept silence. Back on the capital world, Princess Lyrian addressed a group of young citizens. No guards. No throne. They tell stories about humans now, one child said. They say humans are fearless. Lyrian shook her head. That is not true. What are they then? Another asked. She thought of a small ship drifting through cursed space, of voices heard through static. Of people who stayed when it was safer to leave. They are stubborn, she said, and they do not abandon the lost. The child smiled. I want to be like that. Far away, the horizon's wake moved through open space once more. Its crew returned to exploration logs, sensor readings, and quiet routines. Yet something had changed. Every time a weak signal appeared, every time a distorted voice slipped through the noise, someone listened a little harder. Because once a queen heard her daughter's voice again, and the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons or its ships or its technology. It was this: when someone called from the dark, humans answered, and they always came all the way.